My sister breathed her last just after giving birth. My brother-in-law, saying he needed to find a trustworthy stepmother for the young heir, asked my father for my hand in marriage. The Marquis was a cold man. Only in the dead of night, in moments of passion, would he look at my face, so similar to my sister's, and be lost in a daze for a moment. Then he would summon a servant to bring a contraceptive soup and watch me drink it. For 5 years, I took care of the father and son's daily lives. But one day, I was in so much pain that I accidentally spilled the contraceptive soup. The Marquis's brow furrowed, and he warned, "Alara, don't cross the line." A bowl of scalding hot soup was brought to me again. I smiled bitterly, and drank it down under his scrutinizing gaze. And behind the door, the child I had cherished in my heart for 5 years was laughing, as if watching a play. I suddenly felt so tired. I proposed a divorce to the Marquis. He was taken aback for a moment, thinking I was throwing a tantrum. He sneered, "According to the laws of the kingdom, a woman who abandons her husband shall be punished by the bed of nails. Do you have the guts for that?" The next morning, the entire capital was buzzing with the news that the Marquis of Northridge's second wife had rolled on a bed of nails and obtained a divorce decree. This time, I was the one who abandoned him. In the 5th year of my marriage to Marquis Nicholas, the physician told me that I would never have children of my own. "My lady, you have been taking the contraceptive soup for a long time, which has damaged your constitution. You must take good care of yourself in the future." The physician shook his head and left. I blinked my empty eyes, a sudden sense of relief washing over me. Last night, Nicholas had been drinking and had been insatiable. In the end, I was bleeding, and in so much pain, I couldn't get up. When I reached for the contraceptive soup, I accidentally knocked it over. Nicholas, thinking I was up to something, immediately had another bowl brewed and watched me drink it before he left. No, he could rest assured. Even without the contraceptive soup, I would not have children of my own. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. The maid, Ruby, came to report that the young heir was back. I got up, washed, and went to the courtyard to greet him. The young heir was the child my sister had left behind. I had taken care of him since he was the size of my palm. Last night, he had stood at the door with a blank expression, watching Nicholas's aggression, watching me lose my dignity in front of all the servants. In the end, he had only sneered. I took a deep breath and put on a smile to greet the small figure. "Leo, you are back. What did the teacher talk about today? Tell your mother." He didn't stop, and as he passed me, he said coldly, "You are not my mother." My smile froze, and I followed him. I said patiently, "You are right. Your birth mother was my elder sister. Strictly speaking, I am only your aunt, but I am married to your father, so I am your mother in name. To respect one's elders is the way of a gentleman." Leo glanced at me faintly. "None of your business." I changed the subject, pointing to his side. "Where is the book bag I embroidered for you? Didn't Ruby give it to you this morning? Pierre liked it, so I gave it to him. Leo has made a friend at the academy. If they like it, I can embroider a few more." Leo's lips curved into a half smile. "Pierre is the big yellow dog at the academy. There is also a white dog and a calico cat. If you are bored, you can embroider a couple of book bags for them too." I stood there, stunned. Leo looked out the door and ran over. "Father is back. Mr. Reed knew you love tea and asked me to bring you some new tea from the south." He handed over a box of tea. On the cloth bag was an embroidered iris. Just like the name of the owner of the object, Iris, the teacher who taught Leo to play the zither. Nicholas took it with a blank expression, but only those who knew him well knew how happy he was at that moment. I had almost forgotten. He and Iris had grown up together, and I had heard they were almost married. But then something happened to the Reed family, and they had moved away. The next year, Nicholas married my sister. "Father, I would like to invite Mr. Reed to stay with us for a while. What do you think?" "She should be thanked," Nicholas said, looking at me. "I will leave this matter to my lady to arrange." The two of them gave their orders so casually, as if they were just talking to a housekeeper or a maid. I had originally wanted to tell Nicholas what the physician had said, but now it seemed there was no need. I sighed inwardly. I understand. I will make the arrangements. There are still matters to attend to in the accounting office. I will take my leave now. It had always been me watching their backs as they walked away. This was the first time I had turned and left in front of them. On the way from the courtyard to the accounting office, a voice in my heart asked, "Who am I? Why have I dedicated my life to those two men? Is this Grand Marquis's residence really my home?" The answer was obvious. As I wrote the words, "Divorce Decree" on the paper, I suddenly felt the stone that had been weighing on my heart loosen. I waited for Nicholas in the front hall for an hour. He didn't return until it was getting dark. His eyes were filled with a hint of a smile, and a new sachet hung from his side. When he saw me, his expression faltered, and he was about to turn and go back to the main courtyard. "My lord, please wait. I have something to say to you." He frowned impatiently, but before he could get angry, I added, "It is about Miss Reed." Nicholas's tone was flat. "Speak. Leo said yesterday that he wanted to invite Miss Reed to stay. I have arranged for her to stay in the orchid courtyard. It has already been cleaned." The orchid courtyard was right next to Nicholas's courtyard, very close. "Good. You have always been thorough in these matters. I am very much at ease." With that, Nicholas was about to leave. "I have one more thing," I called out to him again. "This time, it is about you and me. Alara, why are you so talkative today?" I was taken aback for a moment, then let out a small laugh. I spread the divorce decree I had written on the table. "Don't worry, soon. You won't have to listen to my nagging anymore." Nicholas walked over and saw the words on the paper. His usually calm and composed eyes flashed with astonishment. He then slowly looked at me, his anger suppressed. "You want to divorce me?" I stood up and looked at him directly. "Since you have seen it, I will not say more. Choose a day and remove my name from the family records." With that, I walked towards my own courtyard, regardless of his reaction. "Is it because I agreed for Iris to stay with us?" Nicholas frowned slightly. "Alara, you have always been gentle and generous. Why are you making a fuss over such a small thing?" The fire in my heart finally couldn't be suppressed. I looked at him with a cold smile. "My lord, you are overthinking. Let alone one Iris, even if you were to marry all the women in the capital. What of it? I am divorcing you simply because I am tired." Nicholas's knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. "The Sycamore family will not agree. You need not worry about that." I curtsied faintly and turned to leave. "Alara, according to the laws of the kingdom, a woman who abandons her husband shall be punished by the bed of nails. If you want a divorce, it will never be possible in this lifetime." Nicholas tore the divorce decree to shreds and stormed off. I had originally held out a sliver of hope, thinking that since Nicholas had no feelings for me, and Leo was already 5 years old, and Iris had returned, he would be happy for me to leave. Sure enough, a man's pride is still higher than the heavens. This path to divorce was not an easy one. Ruby looked at the shredded paper on the floor and silently picked it up. "My lady, the Dowager Marchioness has sent word for you to join her for dinner." Ruby looked at me with pity. "If my lady does not wish to go, I will go and decline for you." "No need. I won't be in this family for much longer anyway. Let's go." The Dowager Marchioness was Nicholas's grandmother, over 70 years old. She had successively sent off her husband and son, and had single-handedly supported the honor of the Marquess of Northridge's family. She was a kind yet shrewd old woman. Her health was already failing, and she began to cough after speaking only a few words to me. "Grandmother, let me help you to bed to rest." She shook her head. "I sleep for most of the day. My old bones are about to fall apart. Come, walk with me." I supported the Dowager Marchioness as we walked in the small garden. She suddenly asked, "You and Nicholas have been married for 5 years, right?" "Exactly 5 years." "Good child. You have worked hard managing the household all these years. Nicholas and Leo are well taken care of by you. With you here, I can go in peace." "Grandmother, do not say such things. I have even thought about who to invite for your 100th birthday. You will be fine." The old lady was amused by me. She held my hand and took off a bracelet from her wrist. Ilara, you have been wronged by marrying into this family. This was given to me by my mother-in-law. Now I give it to you. That bracelet was a symbol of the mistress of the house. I concealed the resistance in my eyes and said with a smile, "Good jade nourishes a person. It looks better on you, grandmother." The old lady had seen too many people and things. She naturally saw through my little trick. You and Nicholas. I lowered my head and said nothing. The old lady started coughing again. Grandmother, you should go back and rest first. Rest assured, the Marquis and I are fine. I helped the Dowager Marchioness to bed. Before I left, she offered me the bracelet several times, but I refused each time. The next morning, I took off all my jewelry and changed into plain clothes. At the door, I ran into Leo, who was on his way to the academy. His young face, when he frowned, looked exactly like Nicholas's. "What are you following me for, so annoying?" I stopped and looked at him coldly. Leo's expression faltered, and he took a step back in fear. I curled my lips and squatted down. "When I was your age, my relationship with your mother was the best. But because of my status as a concubine's daughter, I was not well liked. Later, I was framed by a favored concubine and sent to a country estate for 10 years. It was your mother who, on the pretext of her coming-of-age ceremony, asked my father to bring me back. So, I have never had any complaints about taking care of you for her. I have poured all my heart and soul into you for 5 years without reservation, to repay my childhood friendship with your mother. In the future, when you come of age, I will give you a gift to repay your mother for saving me at her coming-of-age ceremony." Finally, I looked at Leo gently. "You remember, from the moment your mother passed away, you lost the person who was best to you. Now, you are about to lose the person who was second best to you. Leo, from now on, no one will treat you as their own son, and no one will be as unconditionally good to you as I have been." I put on my veil and, accompanied by Ruby, walked towards the capital's yamen. The magistrate originally came out to greet me respectfully, but when he heard that I was here to ask for a divorce decree, his face changed instantly. He sent someone out, probably to find Nicholas. "Sir, my mind is made up. It is no use for anyone to come. Let the law take its course." He sighed and waved his hand. A short while later, a bed of nails appeared in the hall. "Lady Northridge, why must you do this?" I smiled and turned to the crowd of onlookers outside the door. "I am not a Northridge. After today, I will no longer be anyone's wife. Please call me by my name. My name is Ilara." I took off my veil, closed my eyes, and lay down. The sharp nails pierced my skin, and blood instantly seeped through my clothes. The common people gasped. Only people with great grievances would roll on a bed of nails. Why would the Marquis's wife, a noblewoman, do this to herself? I heard she wants a divorce from the Marquis. According to our dynasty's law, this is what must be done. A woman should stay in the back of the house under her husband's protection. To be so reckless, she should be spurned by all women. I spit on that. If she hadn't suffered a great injustice, who would want to roll on that damn bed of nails? I think this Miss Ilara is a heroine among women. I heard she married the Marquis as his second wife, and there is a young heir in the household. It is not easy to be a stepmother. I endured the sharp pain, gritting my teeth, my mind becoming clearer. With each pass, a layer of the shackles that had been placed on me was shed. What family interests? What noble honor? None of it was as important as being myself. In the end, the crowd turned away, unable to watch. "That is enough. That is enough, lady. No, Miss Ilara. That is enough." The magistrate sighed heavily and shook his head as he left. Ruby was sobbing uncontrollably, but she never once questioned my decision. She took out a pill she had prepared in advance and put it in my mouth. A short while later, a divorce decree, stamped with the official seal, was brought to me. I struggled to reach for it, but just as I was about to touch it, a crowd of people came rushing in from outside. My father, the family elders, Nicholas, and even Leo were there. "You rebellious daughter." My father glared at me and pointed. Take this disgraceful thing back. Ruby. As soon as my voice fell, Ruby covered me with a cloak, stood in front of me, her hand on the whip at her waist, ready to strike. My birth mother was the daughter of a wealthy merchant from Yangzhou. She later became my father's concubine. Before she died, she left Ruby to take care of me. Ruby had previously worked as a guard for a security agency and had some martial arts skills. Ordinary people were no match for her. You rebellious daughter, are you going to fight me? I looked at him faintly. As long as you don't move, I will not move either. What a disgrace to the family. What a disgrace to the family. Nicholas looked at me with a dark expression, as if he never expected me to actually go through with the bed of nails. My father flicked his sleeve and announced to the crowd, "You are a married woman. From today on, I will consider you no longer my daughter." He bowed to Nicholas. "My lord, you may take her back and deal with her as you see fit. Whether she lives or dies, I will have no complaints." With that, he left with a group of people. The common people outside were pointing and whispering. Nicholas's face was as dark as water. "Take the lady back to the Marquis's residence. Anyone who obstructs will be killed." The Marquis's guards drew their swords and surrounded Ruby. I struggled to get up, holding the blood-stained divorce decree. "The punishment has been served. The official seal has been set. Our grievances are settled. Please, Marquis of Northridge, have some self-respect. Without my permission, this piece of paper is worthless." I laughed in anger. This law was established when the founding emperor and his wife, Empress Chen, divorced. Let alone you. Even His Majesty would have to acknowledge it. Ilara. As we were at a stalemate, a woman in a white dress and a white veil squeezed through the crowd. Her eyes above the veil were misty, and she stood beside Nicholas, looking helpless. "I came as soon as I heard the news. Why is my sister so badly injured?" Iris said, coming over to help me. Her grip was strong, and I flinched back in pain, shaking her off. She staggered back a couple of steps and fell into Nicholas's arms. Leo quickly took her hand. "Aunt Iris, why are you bothering with her? This woman is jealous and shameless. Be careful she doesn't hurt you." "Leo, don't say that. Your mother will be sad." "I don't want her to be my mother. She did such a shameful thing. All my classmates laughed at me when I went to the academy today." Iris's lips were telling Leo not to speak, but her eyes were looking at me mockingly. Nicholas had the common people dispersed and looked at me coldly. "Ilara, come back with me now, and I'll pretend nothing happened. Otherwise, a woman abandoned by her family. You know very well what her fate will be in the capital. My lord and I are strangers now. How I fare in the future is no concern of yours." Nicholas was about to say more, but saw the tear-streaked Iris beside him. "Sister, you don't want to go back. Is it because of me?" Her large tears fell one by one. "It is all my fault. I only have you, brother Nicholas, as a familiar person in the capital, but I didn't expect to cause a rift between you and my sister. I will move out of the Marquis's residence now." With that, Iris ran off crying. Leo glared at me and went to chase after his Aunt Iris. Nicholas hesitated for a moment, then also followed. Everyone was gone. The mouthful of blood I had been holding back suddenly came out. As I collapsed, only one thought remained in my mind. She turned her back to wipe away her tears, then smiled and comforted me. "My lady, all the physicians in the capital have been booked by others today. Ruby will go and fetch one again tomorrow." I smiled and nodded. Even if this silly girl didn't tell me, I knew. They weren't unavailable. They simply didn't dare to come. My father was the current Grand Secretary, and the one I had offended was the Marquis of Northridge. With a word from them, who would dare to risk helping me? The pills I had prepared were almost gone, and my wounds were not getting any better. There was a knock on the inn door. Ruby asked, "Who is it?" The person outside said in a leisurely voice, "I am a servant from the Marquis's residence. The Marquis has sent me to deliver a message. If my lady knows her mistake, she should go and knock on the Marquis's gate. He is willing to give you another chance. I would advise my lady not to be ungrateful. Not everyone can afford to go against the Marquis." Ruby slammed the door open. Who do you think you are to be so sarcastic in front of my lady? Be careful, or I'll whip you to death. Get lost. Ruby was about to close the door, but I coughed twice. Wait! The maid looked at Ruby with a smug expression. I said, take the divorce decree with you, and tell Nicholas that he is far inferior to that person. The maid naturally did not understand what I was saying. Ruby stuffed the divorce decree into her arms and slammed the door shut. I heard that the Marquis of Northridge's residence was filled with the sound of things being smashed all night. The consequence of angering Nicholas was that Ruby and I were kicked out of the inn, but the thought of him being furious made me want to laugh. My lady, you can still laugh. Ruby was anxious. Your body can't handle the bumps of a carriage. It is not suitable for you to leave the city. What should we do? I patted her hand reassuringly. Don't worry, your lady has a backup plan. By my calculations, that person should be here by now. I took Ruby to the Dragon Mountain Security Agency. The Dragon Mountain Security Agency was run by some people from the martial world. They transported all sorts of things. The special thing about them was that as long as you could afford the fee, they would transport anything, regardless of the client's identity or who their enemies were. I had anticipated today's situation before I went to the Yamen and had already asked the security agency to bring reinforcements. At this time, a woman in tattered clothes, holding a poisonous insect in her hand, was sitting at the entrance of the security agency. Jade? I called out to her. Alara. She walked towards me with a swagger, talking nonstop. Didn't you marry a high official? Why did you send a message saying you were going to die? She got closer and realized that my face was unnaturally flushed, and my lips were so dry they were chapped. Jade's smile disappeared, and she took my pulse. After a while, her almond-shaped eyes widened, and she said indignantly, "Which bastard did this? Did that high official you married fall from power or die to let you be bullied like this? It is a long story, but if I say a few more words, I might really die." Jade waved her hand and sprinkled a powder on my face. In just a breath, the dense pain on my body disappeared. I'll temporarily block your pain. Let's find a place and treat you slowly, and tell me who bullied you. Under Jade's coercion and enticement, we moved into a medical clinic under the name of the Dragon Mountain Security Agency. She was giving me acupuncture while listening to my story. What, that bastard dared to do that to you? Jade got excited, and the needle in her hand went a little too deep. A stream of blood spurted out. Sorry, she laughed and called out an insect, letting it bite my wound. This insect is one I have carefully raised. It is very beneficial for both internal and external injuries. You'll be up and about in no time. A cunning glint flashed in Jade's eyes, and a small black snake crawled out of her sleeve. I am so bored. Let's go and play with your ex-husband. She looked at Ruby. Little beauty, can you find something about that dead man? Ruby thought for a moment. Actually, there is. She took out a button she had torn from the maid's clothes last night. This is from his personal maid. Is this okay? Jade raised an eyebrow. That is enough. I heard that the Marquis of Northridge had contracted a terrible illness. He was swollen all over, and all the physicians in the city could not find the cause. A few days later, the Marquis's maid also fell ill, and even Miss Reed, who was staying at the residence, developed a rash. Everyone said that the Marquis of Northridge's residence was being haunted. Listening to the rumors, Jade spat. Alara, it is a good thing you ran away. A rotten cucumber like that deserves to die 1,000 times. Did you poison Iris too? Jade spat out a piece of melon skin without any grace. How would I know who Iris is? The poison I gave that damn Marquis is called... Jade said mysteriously, word by word, but on the condition that he doesn't mess around. That bastard must have had sex with a woman while he was sick. The person who has sex with him will have an itchy rash all over her body. TSK, and 2 women. It seems I was too lenient. Hearing this, I was taken aback. I thought Nicholas would at least wait until Iris was properly married. To have an illicit affair, Iris actually agreed. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. Under Jade's treatment, my body had almost fully recovered. There were still some scars on my body that would take a long time to fade. Just as I was about to leave the capital, the dowager's nanny, Mrs. Laurel, came to find me. She was an old servant of the dowager marchioness and held a high position in the marquis's residence. At this time, however, her hair was disheveled, and she knelt before me with a mournful expression. "My lady, I beg you to go and see the dowager marchioness." I quickly helped her up. "Mrs. Laurel, I am no longer a lady. If you have something to say, please say it. What happened to the dowager marchioness?" Mrs. Laurel said that after hearing the news of me enduring the punishment to get a divorce, the dowager marchioness had asked Nicholas to apologize to me. Nicholas, of course, refused, and even said that the dowager marchioness was old and should stay in the back of the house and not meddle in men's affairs. These outrageous words had made the dowager marchioness faint on the spot. In the few months I was recuperating, Nicholas had been with Iris all the time. He had no real power in the court to begin with, relying solely on the family's accumulated wealth and connections. Now he didn't even go to morning court, sinking into a world of pleasure and unwilling to leave. The dowager marchioness's health was already poor. I wanted to come and find you earlier, but the dowager marchioness wouldn't let me. She said she was too ashamed to face you. Jade frowned. "If your dowager marchioness is not well, you should have her grandson find a doctor. What is the use of finding Alara? She almost couldn't even save herself." Mrs. Laurel was sobbing. "Since my lady left, the entire Marquis's residence has been managed by Miss Reed. I have gone to her several times to get a doctor to prescribe medicine, but she always refused, citing the household's financial difficulties. The dowager marchioness has been without her medicine for too long, and is now on her deathbed. I have come this time to ask my lady to see the dowager marchioness one last time." Before I left, although the dowager marchioness was drowsy, she was by no means on the verge of death in just a few short months. I had also managed the household's finances. How could such a large estate not even be able to afford the old lady's medicine? My eyes turned red with anger. I walked towards the Marquis's residence and said, When we arrived at the Marquis's residence, the steward was directing the servants to hang funeral banners. Mrs. Laurel was stunned for a moment, then wailed, "Dowager Marchioness." I suddenly felt a little unsteady. Jade and Ruby supported me on either side. "What is all the noise? The Marquis's residence is a noble house. It is not proper to cry and wail like this." Iris was in a magnificent dress, with a floral design on her forehead and bright red lipstick. She looked at me with a cold smile, then said to Mrs. Laurel, "When did the servants of the Marquis's residence start bringing people home?" "Mrs. Laurel, if you have any grievances, you can just tell me. I am not an unreasonable person. If you put on such a show, how am I supposed to conduct myself in the future?" She called a maid. "Quick, help Mrs. Laurel inside to rest. The dowager marchioness is gone, and there are many things that need her attention. We can't have her catching a cold on the ground." I wanted to follow her in, but Iris and her people blocked me. She smiled. "Miss Sycamore, guests for the funeral are requested to come tomorrow. The Marquis's residence is not convenient to receive visitors now." Ruby and Jade were ready to fight, both eager to give Iris a piece of their mind. Iris covered her mouth and said with a wronged expression, "Miss Sycamore, are you trying to hit me in front of the Marquis's residence? If this gets out of hand, the dowager marchioness's funeral arrangements will be disrupted. Do you want to see her die without any dignity?" I held Ruby and Jade back and suppressed my tears. "Fine, I will come back tomorrow. Please see yourself out." All that night, I had Ruby keep an eye on the Marquis's residence to see who they had invited. Seeing the list, my brow furrowed even tighter. Iris had invited only insignificant people, and not a single one of those who had a relationship with the Marquis's family. It was as if she was deliberately drawing a line. Since Iris had moved into the Marquis's residence, I had always felt that her behavior was strange, a far cry from the rumored otherworldly talented woman, but I couldn't put my finger on what was wrong. The next morning, I went to pay my respects. Iris stood at the door to greet the guests, acting as the mistress of the house. She was not afraid of the contemptuous gazes of others, and always maintained a weak smile. I was about to enter, but was stopped again. "Sister, I am so sorry. I told the Marquis last night that you were coming, but he didn't want to see you. I tried to persuade him for a long time, but he said that a divorced woman cannot enter the Marquis's residence, so I didn't send you an invitation. Her maid added. You cannot enter without an invitation. Iris looked at me helplessly. The surrounding guests were pointing and whispering. I finally understood. She was deliberately trying to embarrass me. Today was the Dowager Marchioness's funeral. I didn't want to disturb her peace. I looked at Iris. Since that is the case, I will not enter. Can you give me 3 sticks of incense? Iris signaled for someone to bring the incense. I stood at the entrance of the Marquis's residence and offered my respects. My old sister's funeral. I actually heard about it from an outsider. Miss Reed, you are truly impressive. The old matriarch of the Joe family came, supported by her servants. She was a close friend of the Dowager Marchioness, but Iris had not invited her. Then another carriage stopped, and a noble woman helped an old lady out of the carriage. It was the old Dowager Princess and the Princess of Pingzhong. My husband was a student of the old Marquis. Now that his teacher's wife has passed away, others may not know the etiquette, but we must. The old Dowager Princess's dragon headed staff struck the ground, exuding an air of authority. She said calmly, "The people with whom we had a relationship are all gone. This Marquis's residence has no human warmth left. It is better not to enter. Go and get some incense." Others who had a relationship with the old Marquis and the Dowager Marchioness also echoed. We must come to see the Dowager Marchioness off on her final journey. Since we also do not have an invitation, why don't we join Miss Sycamore and pay our respects outside? A crowd of nobles stood outside the Marquis's residence, offering their respects with incense. They were paying tribute to the past glory of the Marquis's residence, and also to the friendship of the older generation. From today on, there were no more people with whom they had a good relationship, and there was no need to protect anyone for anyone's sake. The hoof prints of the horses were left behind, and the green smoke billowed outside the gate. Inside, it was desolate. Iris was flustered and had someone close the main gate. With such a big commotion, Nicholas actually had no reaction at all. Inside the Marquis's residence, Nicholas lay on the bed, his clothes disheveled, his expression wild. He would occasionally pop a blue pill into his mouth, and after taking it, he would become excited. Iris stood at the door, watching him go mad, without a single emotion. After a while, she entered the room and gently threw herself into his arms. Iris, is it day or night? My lord, it is already the ugly hour. Nicholas nodded blankly. Seeming to have sobered up a little. Grandmother's funeral. My lord, rest assured. I have handled everything. Did Alara come? Nicholas asked eagerly. Grandmother liked her the most. She would definitely come. Did she ask about me? Iris's smile faltered for a moment. Then she said, My lord, my sister did not come. I sent someone to invite her, but she said that in this life and the next, she does not want to have any connection with the Marquis's residence. I am afraid. She hates you very much. Nicholas stared at the moon with a dazed expression. It shouldn't be like this. Why won't she just give in to me? I don't want to treat her like this. No, I have to go and talk to her. Iris hugged him, her voice gentle, but her eyes were filled with poison. My lord, it is too late. You should take your medicine. With that, she put another blue pill into his mouth. I had no more ties in the capital and decided to follow a merchant caravan to see the rivers and mountains of the great kingdom. We crossed a vast desert where Jade caught a giant poisonous scorpion and was so excited she didn't sleep for 2 nights. We also went to the northernmost part of the kingdom, where the snow-capped mountains met the sea. At sunrise, the golden light illuminated the mountains, and the sea and sky were one color. Finally, we stopped at a very beautiful place. Here, there were vast grasslands we had never seen before, where horses could run freely. The people were simple and honest, with delicious local tea and handmade ugly cakes. Ruby's horse was unmatched on the grasslands, and she became an object of worship for countless children. Jade met a highly skilled but eccentric Taoist priest. and their days were filled with a routine of her poisoning him and him detoxifying himself. They were very busy. I opened a school and taught the children to read. I thought I would spend the rest of my life here. But an unexpected guest arrived. When I saw the Marquis's secret guard, I was in a daze for a moment. He handed me a letter saying it was from Nicholas. In the middle of the letter was a small note. Judging from the handwriting, it should have been written by Leo. The letter didn't say much, just that he wanted me to go back. Over the years, the merchant caravans from the capital would often talk about the interesting things happening in the city. The Marquis of Northridge's residence was their favorite topic of conversation after tea and meals. Every time they talked about it, they would mention two women. One was a strange woman who, after the late Empress, had also abandoned her husband. The other was a poisonous woman who had caused chaos in the Marquis's residence, had single-handedly squandered the connections left by several generations, and had finally run off with all the household's wealth. It was said that she had been after the family's fortune from the beginning. Not only did she take all the money, but she also got the Marquis addicted to a drug from the western regions. This drug was expensive and highly addictive. The current Nicholas was not only an addict but also an addict in debt. Where on earth did he get the confidence to think I would go back and pay off his debts? I threw the disgusting letter into the fire and looked at the small note. Leo. Mother said she would give me a gift. There is no need to wait until I come of age. Give it to me now. I don't want anything else, just money. As if afraid I would go back on my word, he even mentioned my deceased sister at the end. I threw it into the fire as well and watched as everything was consumed by the flames. I had the Dragon Mountain Security Agency investigate the ins and outs of this matter. I finally understood why Iris had acted so strangely in the beginning. The information from the Dragon Mountain Security Agency described her life. Iris, originally from the capital, in the 9th year of the Xiaoming era, her father was demoted to the prefecture of Wu for corruption. Later, in Wu, her father and brother became addicted to gambling and lost all the family's fortune. The family began to resort to marriage fraud. Iris had already been married 3 times before she returned to the capital, all to famous and wealthy gentlemen in various places. Later, when the matter was exposed, the father and son fled to the north, where they met an old subordinate of the old Marquis. After some conversation, they learned that the current Marquis of Northridge's residence was wealthy, but had an incompetent head of the family. So they set their sights on Nicholas. Because of their childhood friendship, Nicholas trusted Iris very much and naturally did whatever she said. Iris was afraid that the old Marquis's friends would not let her go after she had run off with the money. So she used Nicholas's name to act recklessly in the capital, completely alienating those people. Speaking of which, my divorce was also within her expectations. It was just that she had originally wanted Nicholas to divorce me. But I had taken the initiative to leave. After I left, Leo was always taught by Iris. Seeing the letter he had just left, he must have learned a lot of gambling skills from her. Now, in the Marquis's residence, only a few of the old Marquis's secret guards were still protecting them. I sighed and looked at the secret guard who was waiting for a reply. You don't have to wait. I won't go back, and don't send any more letters in the future. Tell Leo that I will keep my promise to him, but it can only be on the year he comes of age. The secret guard also seemed helpless. He bowed to me and disappeared into the night. Jade and the highly skilled Taoist priest went on a journey around the 4 kingdoms, searching for new poisons and herbs. One compiled a book called 1,000 Prescriptions of Poisons, and the other wrote a book called A Record of Herbs. They still couldn't decide who was better. The children I taught also packed their bags and went to the capital for the imperial examinations. Another 5 years passed. Ruby married the most powerful warrior on the grasslands. Jade came back to attend the wedding feast. After the wedding feast, a thin figure slowly walked out. I could barely recognize the emaciated person as Nicholas. It was Jade's little poisonous creature that had bitten him that first recognized his scent. Ilara. Nicholas had just taken a step closer when Jade's snake and Ruby's whip fell together. He had to stop not far away, looking at me with teary eyes. Ilara, I know I was wrong, The Marquis's residence has been ruined by that bitch Iris. Please come back with me. The Marquis's residence needs a mistress. And Leo, he misses you very much too. At this time, looking at him, my heart was completely calm. Jade raised an eyebrow and smiled. How about this? I'll give you a chance. You made Alara roll on a bed of nails. Now you walk on a path of knives. If you can make it, we'll talk. A flicker of retreat flashed in Nicholas's eyes. He gritted his teeth and looked at me. What do you think? Jade looked expectant. I said helplessly. If you can make it, I'll consider it. Okay, the so-called path of knives was a few people holding knives and standing in 2 rows. The challenger would walk through the middle and be cut by everyone's knife to be considered successful. I whispered, Jade, don't kill him. Don't worry. I know what I am doing. At most, he'll be as seriously injured as you were. Unfortunately, Nicholas's body, after just 1 cut, fainted. When he woke up, he looked at me with a hopeful expression. I smiled faintly. I've considered it. I am not going back. Ilara, you tricked me. Jade stood in front of me. Hey, what are you talking about? You didn't succeed. It is normal for Ilara not to go back. Besides, we just tricked you. What are you going to do about it? Right? You stinky Taoist, the Taoist said. Nicholas was thrown out. Before he left, I saw him alone. If you had died back then, perhaps the Marquis's residence would have continued to be glorious. Hearing this, Nicholas froze. At that time, the mistress of the Marquis's residence had given birth to a pair of twins. Nicholas and his brother, a true gentleman. He was a very good person, but unfortunately, he was killed by his own brother. My sister had married the man who had killed her lover with hatred, and had died young. When I had said in the inn that Nicholas was far inferior to that person, I was not exaggerating at all. They were born from the same mother, but one was like a bright moon, while the other had a heart as venomous as a snake. I turned and left, leaving Nicholas alone in the ruined temple, roaring with unwillingness. I heard that after Iris ran off with the money, she had been wanted by the authorities. Her body was finally found in a brothel. Her father and brother had quickly gambled away the money. Iris's reputation was ruined, and no one would fall for her tricks anymore, so she was sold to a brothel by her father and brother. A once beautiful woman had ended up in such a state. I stayed on the grasslands for 15 years. Ruby's son was already married. When people get old, they always want to go back and see the place they came from. I once again set foot on the road back to the capital to fulfill that promise. When I met Leo again, he had already had 2 of his fingers cut off. He had been in so much debt that he was about to be exiled and was hiding everywhere. I paid off his debts, bought him some land in the countryside, and gave him a chance to start over. Whether he would continue to gamble or turn over a new leaf was not my business. At her coming, of-age ceremony, my sister had brought me out of the estate. Now that her son was of age, I had also given him a new choice. Things had changed. When I came back, I realized that there was nothing to miss in this capital. Oh well, I should go back to my grasslands. In a few more years, Ruby's little grandson will be calling me Grandma. Oh, and there is Jade. I wonder if she and the little Taoist have decided who is better, or if they have had a little poison creature, a little physician.